Heather say something.
Hello, didn't we just do this?
Yeah, but that was pre-recording.
Pre-recording?
This is recording?
We are recording now, yes.
Okay.
How should we start this?
Dun, 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 dun,
Dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun.
Okay, we need to work on that.
Or what else? What's the most classic line is, Hal, yes, Dave. It's like, I'm sorry, Dave. So
God.
the most recent thing that I learned, I'm still reading the book. Every single page has something interesting to learn about making this movie. But the most recent thing that I learned, and where I am is like at the very end of post-production. I think the only thing I have to read after is the section called Release, which will probably be like the most interesting because I'm curious about, because this book, I'm talking about Michael Benson's book, 2001. No, it's called Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick, Arthur C. Clarke, and the Making of a Masterpiece. There's so many, like there is no stone left unturned, and there is no monetary situation that is not explicitly explained and converted via inflation to tell you how much money all these people were making or not making. So I'm very curious to see like how much money Clark made, how much money Kubrick made, how much money the movie made. Yeah. But anyway, the most recent thing I learned is that the actor who did Hal's performance was an American stage actor, and Kubrick flew him over, had him record in the Borehamwood Studios. He said they did it in an 8-hour period. They said that Hal's voice was recorded in a vacuum, meaning the guy did not read the script. Huh. And it said that Kubrick was 4 feet away from him the entire time. And the entire time Hal's actor was reading his lines, he had no shoes or socks on, and his feet were on a pillow. And he was sitting down so that he would sound and feel as relaxed as possible.
That's crazy.
And Hal is very chill.
Yeah.
Even when he's murderous.
Yes.
So we are here to discuss the movie version of 2001 A Space Odyssey, which was released in the year 1968. We don't have to get into all the details about that because I'm sure you're familiar with it. If you're not, you should just go watch it.
The details of what?
Like the fact that it's not an adaptation, it's not based on the book. The book is not a novelization. What's up?
Can we talk about that?
Sure. Oh yeah. What's up?
Okay, so can we go over this for a second? So the movie came out before the book.
Yes, only because Kubrick never ever was going to let that book come out before the movie, even though he told Clark that it could. He never ever was going to let that happen.
Okay, well, what a jerk. But also...
But in the end, not what a jerk, because that movie made Clark more famous than anything he ever did.
Yes, but I feel like I was glad that I read the book before I watched the movie, because not that I really understood what was going on at the end of the book, but I think the movie is even worse, like at explaining everything at the end.
Nothing is explained.
Yeah, nothing is explained.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying.
Intentionally.
Like,
Yeah.
But so, like, what did people think of that movie when they saw it? Did the end make sense?
Well, this is, wish I had read the part that says release. But the movie, initially, no, it wasn't. I don't think initially it was the classic that it is now. But most people saw it for what it is, which is, like, groundbreaking. I mean, you could throw all kinds of adjectives at it, but...
Yeah, and, like, I mean, it's visually phenomenal.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So it's like...
It doesn't matter what year it is. That movie is visually stunning.
Right. So it's like, I feel like people probably, like, would have cared less about what was going on and more about what they were seeing.
Yeah. And, okay, well, actually, here's a funny quote. So one guy, in the book, they mentioned this. One guy mentioned that, I might have told you this already. One guy said that the book the movie is very similar to his own novel, some other author, and Clark's response was, well, the ending to your book probably made more sense, but the ending to 2001 made more money.
Well, I think we were talking about
The ending.
the ending. I don't know. I didn't like it very much, but I feel like I liked it better having read the book. I feel like if I hadn't read the book and I had just seen the movie, I would have been even more like, what the hell is going on right now?
Well, what did you saw the movie, then read the book, right? All of us, Jared, you did. All of us read the book, then watched the movie. What did you think of it when you first watched it? Can you remember?
What did I think of it? I think I thought exactly. I think I got it. I really do.
Yeah.
You were like, right. Oh, a star baby. Oh, yeah. I know all about that. How could you get it?
Because in the beginning, Heather, it's very clear that the monolith turns monkeys into humans. So, minus all the HAL stuff, it's very clear that the monolith then does something to a human, and out comes, a baby, but
Obviously, it's
it's
really special.
the next step.
Yeah.
It's like a higher form.
It's something. Yeah, I mean, but what I will say, even though I say I think I got it, because I wasn't confused. Clearly, it jump started an obsession.
Yeah.
But what I did was that's the reason I said, which one of you people in this room has a car? So we can go to the library. I can rent this book. I can read this book so that I understand it.
Okay.
That is what happened. And that still happens to me to this day. When I watch a movie and I'm like, I loved that, but I need more based on a book, okay, I'm going to read that book.
Yeah.
So I get more.
Right.
So, but also, I don't know. You're asking me that question. I don't know. I think I got it, but I don't know I don't know.
I mean, I'm not necessarily even asking if you, like, quote unquote, got it, like, understood what was happening. But, like, I mean, because really, like, my takeaway is just how, like, visually incredible every single scene is.
Right. And I think I mean, Star Wars is always, talked about how great that original movie is because the special effects are good. And not to take away from Star Wars, but they're not as good as 2001. But the reason they're not as good as 2001 is because 2001 moves at a very, very slow pace.
Yes.
And when you take that old school way of I don't know how they do it, and you move the spaceship quickly across the screen, it looks fake as fuck.
Right.
And that's Star Wars. That's things zooming around and shooting lasers.
Right.
But in this movie, everything moves so slowly that it looks so real.
I didn't think about it that way. But
That's-
you're totally right.
Does everybody know how they did all the special effects in Star Wars? Because maybe that's part of it. Like, if the people who made Star Wars are like, hey, everybody, this is how we made this. And Stanley Kubrick's like, it's a secret. Then that's going to make people be more intrigued by that.
Yeah. I think Star Wars is all the same techniques, just that you have to do it more and way more complicated. And
Because it's action.
Yeah, it's a completely different thing happening in the same environment that you have to make out of nothing because you can't film in space.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When was Star Wars released?
So Star Wars, this is the thing, man. 10 years later.
Really? 10 whole years
10
later?
years passed.
Wow.
You have to understand, dude, the
Wow.
significance of this movie. And the other thing that is constantly talked about in the book that I read is how prior to this, science fiction wasn't taken seriously.
Right.
There was 2 examples that both the director and Arthur C. Clarke would have claimed at the time were quote-unquote good science fiction. And that's for The Forbidden Planet, which is not particularly well known these days, but also The Day the Earth Stood Still, which I've seen. And it's amazing. It was made in the 50s. The movie has almost no special effects in it, though.
Yeah.
there's like the UFO comes down and lands on the White House lawn. That's the special effects. And then it out comes an alien that is just a guy.
Yeah.
And he's with a robot, which is probably just a guy in a metal suit.
Right.
But but in terms of science fiction and being heady and being a good movie, it's a great movie. But this is the first movie to actually say, hey, listen, this science fiction can be thought-provoking. Whereas prior to that, people didn't take it seriously.
Right. Yeah.
According to this book. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But, so I guess, I don't know. Let's, I firmly believe that there's not a whole lot to say about this thing. So like,
I was going to say that.
What?
I was going to say, I don't really feel like I have that much to say about the movie. I felt kind of bad.
Well, the reason in my opinion, there's not that very much to say about it is because it's just everyone. It's like everyone talks about it all the time. Like, and it's. I said it in like an Instagram thing that before I read this book, there would be more reason. Like the book fills in all the details. Now that book's been written, there's nothing really more to say about it other than I love it or I don't. And at this point, it doesn't matter because it's just a classic movie.
Do we know if they do they ever have like anniversary celebrations of this movie and like bring it back to theaters or something?
I've seen this movie in the theater twice.
Really? I would see this movie again only if I got to watch it in a theater. Like I would never watch this movie again just normally because I didn't like it. But I think I was telling you this, Amy, like I wish I could have seen it in the theater to like I mean, it's boring, so I just found myself like, you know, like not
it
like
boring.
wandering. My mind was like wandering a little bit, and then I broke it into two parts, which was before I started watching it. I was like, oh, I'll have to figure out like when to stop it, and then the movie literally has an intermission. In it. I was like, perfect.
I always forget about the intermission,
but towards the end of the first night that I watched it, the first section, I was like falling asleep a little bit. So I feel like with a lot of movies, seeing them in the theater is just better because you have no distractions. You can just watch it. And I feel like this movie would be cool to do that with.
Plus the theater, it's like more immersive.
Yeah. I mean, I do. I feel like that would have been cooler too. Like just to see it. To see some of those shots on a big screen, would be
and like surround sound.
Really, really cool.
Even though there wasn't a whole lot of music in it.
I would definitely not say that I like this movie. And like, I guess visually it's cool, but also, I don't know. Like I don't know if I told you this, but I mean, the beginning of this movie, I literally thought there was something wrong with the video of my TV because it's music and a black screen
that
for
part is
a
weird.
really long time where I was just like, what is happening? Is something wrong here? And if that has a point, it certainly was lost on me. But then again, this entire movie seems to be lost on me. And the part when he's going through space at the end, I think is far, far too long. Like,
I mean, the visual effects and
of like going to
it just goes on forever. Yeah. Like I literally got up and like went to the bathroom and came back and it was still happening. And I was just like, what, why does this need to be this long? and then the shots of his face where he was like, just like making like screaming faces. I was like,
that part made me laugh so
what
hard.
Are we doing here? Why is this going on for so long?
Although that's totally what my face would look like if I was going through the Stargate.
I just was like, I don't know. There were parts of this movie that I just felt like, I feel like people probably just like say it's cool to say it's cool. And it's just, to me, I just didn't get it. I just didn't see the coolness of it.
But I think that I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think it's very. You have this same attitude, Heather, towards a movie that is very much only exists because 2001 exists first, and that's Interstellar. So I think that you just don't like slow,
boring movies. Yeah, no, I don't.
Provoking movies about like our place in the
Okay,
universe.
let's not say that I don't like thought-provoking movies because that makes me
Listen,
sound like
no.
an idiot.
No, it was
Thought-provoking
specific.
space movies
Yeah.
that attempt to depict space in a realistic, at least as close as you can get to realistic way. The funny thing too is while I was watching this movie last night, I was trying to catch them to making a mistake. I was like, wait a minute. Every time they're in the pod bay, there's gravity. How could that be? There's only gravity when it's spinning. But no, they do make the point that every time they walk around in that thing, they're doing the weird grip shoe walk.
Oh my God, I hated that.
know.
I feel like they should have just put Velcro shoes on them and a Velcro floor because the actors look stupid doing that. It like took me out of the moment.
Everything looks stupid in space because it's not what we're used to. It's not what our eyes are supposed to. It's not what our eyes have been seeing for millions of years.
I don't know. I feel like they should have. I don't know. I thought that was just. I was like, oh, look at that person trying to pretend that they're walking in space.
Okay, what? Let me
didn't
ask you
do
this.
it for
Let me
me.
ask you. Okay, one of the shots that I to this day, I've seen this movie so many times that like the magic is slightly lost on me because it's practically memory by this point. But one of the shots that is always that last night I was like, motherfucker, that's amazing. Is when the pen is floating.
Oh,
Yes.
I know.
And the fucking focus changes, dude, from the pen to the girl behind it. How the fuck did they do that?
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, dude, but that is amazing.
I know.
Want me to tell you what I do like about this movie? I do like the space shots with that beautiful. I don't know what it's called. Famous classical music playing in the background. Like I think that's very beautiful.
It's straight. It's OG too. Do you know how many times that has been parodied?
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I mean for
That's
sure.
what's
Yeah,
so
for
cool
sure.
about it is that like, and again, like you got to put yourself in this someone's shoes in the 1968, man. Like, I'm sure at first you would be like, this shit is weird, but I don't know because it gives me like, you guys watched that movie Enter the Void, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
I remember
Not.
that.
We started it. I don't
Okay.
believe we finished it. Yeah.
I saw that movie in the theater at my college, and man, when it was over, the things people were saying about it, they were just such disparaging, like that was absolute trash. Like if you're the kind of person, they're just saying like that is such garbage, man. Like I get it when you see something like that, and you're like if you're not like predisposed to be down with it, you're gonna be like,
right.
fucking kill me, please, while you're sitting there. But I don't know, man.
But it can be like
I
that
think-
about any movie.
Well, but,
I
okay.
mean, people like what they like and don't like what
Yeah.
they don't like. And I
Yeah.
mean, you don't need like. You should never say like, oh, if someone doesn't like this movie, or if someone
right.
does like this movie, like what is wrong with that person? I mean, that's like
Mallory, were you gonna say something?
that's so stupid.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, Amy and I were talking last night after watching it, and I think for, like, of the time, they nailed the whole, like, epic space thing. Like, and it's stylistically beautiful, it's shot very well, but they're just lacking a plot that you're used to having, and that character development. And I think that's what makes it so slow and kind of boring is because you're just movies done in space now, it's like action all the time. There's always something going on. There's dialogue, there's character development, and so
I think
that's where it's
I think
lacking.
another thing that's interesting is that like to the overarching story, like what happens in the movie, the whole monolith thing, the least essential thing in this movie is what everyone remembers. Hal.
Yeah,
oh
but didn't we
right,
talk about that?
yeah.
Hal-
Isn't that how it is in the
Yeah.
book too?
Hal is his whole thing is
Yeah.
is not necessary, but it's the
Right.
only thing as a person used to watching normal movies that you cling to. You're
Yeah.
like,
Right.
that's a murderous robot.
Yeah, there's drama
Like,
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like, okay, it's a robot trying to kill people. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am interested in this, but everything else, when you're just looking at music and sounds and no words, like if you're not interested, then you're gonna fade so fast.
Yeah.
And you can't pick it back up until you see the robot that's murderous. Then you're going to be like, oh, wait a minute, this is an actual movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that
makes
this
sense.
movie, like, I feel like Stanley Kubrick knew what he was doing with this movie. Like, I get this idea that he was like, we're gonna make this slow, and we're just gonna make it cool, and if people don't like it, they're dumb. You know, like I don't
That's
think
like-
that anything is done. And that might be one of the things I don't like about the movie. It seems a little
It's meticulous.
like
It's like every little thing
it's
is
like
perfectly
the movie's like better than the movie's saying like I'm better than you. Like I maybe that's one of the things I,
I
don't
think
like
that-
about
I
it.
think that's just what you think.
Yeah, I think that you're putting that
Yeah.
onto it because I think it was like just like they set out to make something like perfect.
Well then,
Yeah.
okay, that's
And the,
And it's
so
a
then yeah,
sequel.
that movie is saying it's better than you. If you're setting out to make a perfect movie, you're proving my point.
I think she's saying that like nothing is done either accidentally or unintentionally. Like Kubrick was obsessive to the point where now we look back and we say, yes, 2001, like whatever, success, classic movie.
Yeah.
But at the time, like everything about it, like it went double its budget. It took twice as long to make that he said it would. He was lying to Kubrick to Clark the entire time, but in the end, everyone involved was better for it. Even though while they were doing it, probably like no one knew what the fuck they were making except for Kubrick.
right.
Do you feel like that's probably typical of his style of work, though? Is he like with his other films? Has he been noted to be that way?
The only thing I'll say about that is that I'm not a Kubrick fanboy. I'm a 2001 fanboy. I'm not a Kubrick fanboy. And I've also never read a 400-page book about the making of Full Metal Jacket, so I don't know. I only know that about 2001 because I read that book. But another thing I want to say, dude, is that in terms of 2001 is not a normal movie, but neither is Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket, dude, is the entire first half of that movie is the training camp. And then the entire second half of that movie is the Vietnam War. And the entire first half is better than the entire second half. They're basically separate. Do you guys remember this movie at all?
No, but I hate when that happens to a
Vaguely.
movie when it's like totally
Yeah.
different the second half and you're like, this was better. I hate
Yeah.
that. I mean, I can think of other movies where that happens and I don't like that.
Well,
But
I
I
mean-
don't think I've even seen that movie.
I don't know. 2001 for me is kind of like that. Like I'm not. For me, my involvement and love of that film starts the minute you get on Discovery. Prior to that, it's like I don't even need any of that.
I
for
love
me.
the beginning, though.
I think the beginning's pretty good. I think those are really great performances, like of them acting like monkeys or whatever.
I also,
Yeah.
I think they do a really good job with that. I think that
totally.
the
Yeah.
costumes are
No,
good, the
it's-
makeup is
yeah.
good, the
Oh yeah,
performances are
it's
good.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I was thinking about was them killing all those trees you were telling me about.
Right,
So that
yeah.
made me a little sad, but
There's a whole story in the book about how it's actually really fucked up, but they went down to Africa to
Yeah.
film the Dawn of Man backdrops,
Yeah.
and there are these really, really rare trees that were 300 years old, and Kubrick told the guy to uproot them
Dang.
and bring them somewhere else. And they did, and they said one of them like fell over and shattered.
Oh no.
And that shit's illegal, and it's just not okay. They shouldn't have done that.
gosh.
Yeah.
And what's even worse is that it's apparently they're in like 2 shots, and they're in the background.
and I bet when the pig falls down or whatever that thing is.
No, that's explained. It's a tapir, and they weren't hurt.
Oh, we know that.
Well, it's
Okay,
according to the
back
book.
then
I don't know.
they didn't care about animals, and
Right,
They
but-
just killed them for
Yeah,
movies.
no, I know.
All
But
right, well, good. I'm glad that's
according
that
to the
makes me
book,
feel better.
according to the book, they weren't. Okay, again, it's just the book, but they said according to the book, those shots of the actual falling were accidentally caught. Like the animal actually fell,
Interesting. That's
and
interesting.
so it happened to be on film. I mean, and obviously, like the animal probably wouldn't have fallen. If
Oh,
it
whoa,
was
whoa,
out
whoa,
in-
whoa, whoa! I thought nothing in this movie was unintentional. Oh, look at that!
Yeah.
That little pig
Oh boy.
The
fell down,
terrapin.
and
boy.
Stanley was probably like, "I told him to fall."
Well, okay, you know what else
Nothing's
was
predictable
okay? You know
with
what else? You know what else was unintentional? Was the glowing eyes of the leopard.
Yeah, what was that about?
And so,
Oh,
look,
yeah,
that
that
was
was
crazy.
once Kubrick saw that, he was like, "Put it in the movie."
So it's intentional unless it involves an animal, and he's just like, "Do what you got to do.
I mean-
perform, animals, perform."
Well, that's
Actually,
true.
how
That's
did they
true.
Do the scenes with that with the
They had a trained leopard.
Okay.
I don't know why,
And-
but I thought it was fake.
And Dan Richter,
No.
the
I
guy who
figured it
plays
was like-
Moonwatcher, was very afraid, but they did it.
Jeez.
And dude, the thing that they're wearing, that costume, that monkey costume, like
Yeah.
provided some amount of padding. And it was, dude, there's a whole thing in the book too about how once those actors put that thing on, they had like 5 minutes until they suffocated.
Oh, good God.
Oh, wow.
Or even less, dude. Because the way the mouth works,
Yeah.
their tongue was operating the lips.
Oh, wow.
So when it's like that and it's the
Yeah.
face, they're pushing buttons on the backs of the teeth
That's crazy.
of the teeth of the
Oh my
monkey.
word!
That's wild.
So it was, and dude, they also talked about how the actors would often throw up because your own like saliva is just like stinking on the inside of that thing. And so they said in between takes they inverted the masks and like hung them up and blew fans on them.
And you said it was in Africa, right? So it was probably hot
No.
as hell. Oh, that part
They-
was
that was
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that was done in a studio. They
Oh, that
shot.
was done in a
Dude,
studio.
Kubrick was afraid to even go anywhere. He wouldn't go anywhere.
Well, he was so
stayed.
secretive. Yeah.
He stayed in that studio the entire time, and he sent people off to Africa to
Oh,
film all
wow.
that shit.
That's wild.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he was crazy.
Yeah, he went,
Yeah,
he
he
went
sounds like
deep
he's
on this
got
one,
some-
didn't he?
Yeah. But one thing we were talking about at the beginning, I like Haywood Floyd. I don't know, something about him, man. I love his performance. I love the scene where, and you said you didn't like it, but I love when he's talking to those 4 scientists
Yeah.
and he's just sitting there and he's just like, I love like the silence before he's like, I'm not at liberty to discuss this.
I think I just my issue is like there's no real like it's like shot from like a boring angle and like everything's real monotone.
But what about the Russian guy? I love when he's like, when he goes, "Is this in fact what has happened?" The way he says it like that. It's just so like otherworldly. That movie is just so, and
which is great because they're on the moon.
right.
I also feel like that's how movies were kind of filmed then, too. Like, acting was such a different thing in
Yeah,
the
it
50s
was.
and 60s
Oh,
than it is now.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But most of the people doing the acting were far more talented than a lot of the people doing it these days.
True.
Okay,
Yeah.
can we just? Do you guys have anything you like really want to say? Like, I feel like a good way to frame things sometimes is for me to just go through the notes that I took. I didn't expect to
no.
take notes, and like I said, man, I put this in my Instagram story. I literally, I didn't want to. Like, I was dreading watching this movie. Like, I agree, it is a boring movie. If you've seen it, like, you have to want to watch it. If you're already a fan, I guess. It's not a movie that I pick up and watch. Like, obviously, I
Right,
love
right,
it, but I'm not just going to be like, oh, I'm going to watch 2001. No, dude.
right.
You got to, like, commit. But anyway, once I thought that I was going to sit on my bed, do work on my computer with it on. But
Yeah,
no, as
no.
soon as it started, I put my computer down. I was like,
Where did you see this in a theater? Like, why was it in a theater?
So it was at the Portsmouth Music Hall. They did one summer. It was movies you have to see in the theater.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's
And I saw
cool.
that. And I know you don't like this movie because you literally just brought it up, but I also watched it in that same summer, Apocalypse Now.
Oh, okay.
I didn't bring it up. I mean,
You said that-
I know.
Okay.
Other people probably didn't know what I was talking about.
Well, either way.
Did you guys know I was talking about that movie?
No, what?
That movie.
She wants
is
to talk
bad.
about it.
No, we don't have to talk about it.
They slaughter a cow in the
They
movie.
really
and
did
they
it,
really
so I will
filmed
never
it.
watch that movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
So that's what I.
gotcha.
That's
Oh,
why I
didn't
thought
know
that the pig had
But
really
anyway.
okay.
somehow
Yeah.
hurt.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
I didn't
So-
catch the reference. No.
No, I
That's
didn't
why I
know
was
that.
like, only you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Well, not only me, film people who love movies know that. But anyway,
Right.
the point
Yeah.
is, I saw that and I saw Apocalypse Now, and I was pissed because this was a time when I was in college, so I had to go back to college, and the summer is technically September, and in September I'm so mad, dude. They played Saving Private Ryan, and I would love to see that in the theater. Would love to, because I was only 8 when that movie came out. I didn't see that movie in the theater. You asked me where I saw it. I also saw it. Remember, Heather, you and I saw it? What old movie did you and I see at the Portsmouth movie theater?
The Thing. Are
Okay.
you talking about when they did the trivia?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
before it.
that program, whatever that program was, they also did 2001.
Yeah, they do like
And I
movie
saw it.
events.
I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
And that was the time, I think I already told the story, when I was like, they did the trivia in the beginning, and they were like, the question was, how long ago what does the first monolith show up? And I go, the dawn of man. And they were like, wrong. And someone was like, 4 million years. And they were like, right. I was like, damn.
I love that they do trivia. That's so cool that they do that at that theater.
Yeah.
That's where I saw The Last Unicorn.
Oh, nice.
And the author of the book
That's so
was
cool.
there.
That's so
It was
cool.
crazy.
What's the name of this theater?
The Cinemagic in Portsmouth.
Yeah, it's a
that's
cinemagic
awesome.
version.
They
They-
still do it?
Probably not now.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
I don't
COVID
know,
now,
but
Pandemic kind of
but they
ruined
should.
things.
yeah.
But wait, that
Go
so
to the movies again? Yeah.
so okay. In the theater at that one, dude, that was
Yeah.
that's a hilarious story, dude. I went with a girl that I think I was dating her at the time. I don't remember. But no, listen. So we go
She
in.
must have really liked you
No,
if
no.
she did that with you.
Dude, she was a
Went to see
hippie,
that.
man. She's all about this shit.
Right.
So listen. So we go in, dude. Never forget, dude. We walk into the theater, okay? Fucking packed. Lights are off. I see on the screen, for a split second, I see on the screen Finding Dory. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, this is a trailer. So then we go in, dude, and we're walking up, and I'm like, come on, follow me. Like, I'm fucking leading the charge. And we spot in the middle of everyone 2 seats. So we go up, dude. We sneak by all these fucking children and moms everywhere. We sit down. I'm sitting there for like 2 minutes, and I just go, this is the wrong movie. And I get up and we go. And it was actually Finding Dory.
Well, that happened to me multiple times. I don't know if I used to just be like really excited to go to the movies, and I'd go with my friends, and yes,
You go to the wrong one?
yeah, we'd go into the wrong theater. And we'd
say
sit
that's ever
down,
happened to
and
me.
like a movie would start. I remember it happened. I don't know what. No, it was when we went to see The Beach. And we sat in the theater, and
that
I mean, I
movie.
think if these movies didn't come out at the same time, then I'm wrong. And we sat down, and the movie started, and I had already seen Scream, and it was Scream, and I was like, get up, we're in the wrong theater, get up. And then we missed the beginning of The Beach, and then it happened to me multiple times. I don't know why. I
Well,
think
dude,
we were just excited.
Wait. So the funniest part about that story too is that like the girl that I was with was very laid back, and I'm kind of like an uptight person, and so. When we got out of the theater, she was like, dude, I knew the whole time that we were in the wrong theater, but you were just going. She was like, I was just following you. She was like, there was no stopping you. She's like, how did you not know that? Like, that was clearly a Finding Nemo movie. I was like, I don't know, man.
Like the kids and the moms all in the seat. That's hysterical.
All ready to see 2001 Space Odyssey.
But like the lights were off. Like, what did I think?
Oh my God.
It was funny.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's happened to me, so I can't blame you.
But yeah. So all right.
What
let's,
are some of your
so what-
notes?
I was
Okay.
going to say one thing
What's
that
up?
I wanted to talk about was like some of the differences in the movie. Like why in the end in the movie he gets old and then he reverts back to being a baby. But in the
Spotted
book
Stone.
he doesn't.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
that was
just
weird.
confused by that. I was
Yeah.
like why was that necessary?
All of a sudden, I was like, he has wrinkles.
Well, okay, wait. Because it's a lot easier to make somebody look old than it is to make them look young.
true.
It would have involved like
What, you're saying reverse age?
Yeah, like if
Yeah.
he just kept getting younger
Wait
and
a
younger
minute.
and then baby.
So this was like,
what?
what was this, like Benjamin Button at the end? He got young?
No.
I thought he just like became the baby. I didn't know he aged.
I don't think there's any verbal explanation that is
Yeah.
possible for what happens at the end, man. He just becomes the star child.
Yeah. So why would he have had to look young?
And Heather,
No,
is it
'cause
there's
in
a quote.
Book he gets younger.
younger.
Does he?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I didn't.
And Heather, don't you like the quote by Clark that's any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic? So the reason we don't the reason we don't understand what we're looking at the end of that movie is because it's such sufficiently advanced technology that it's like magic to us.
Right.
That's why we don't have the
understand it.
verbal explanation for it. It's the same reason the monkey can't explain the computer
Right.
because it doesn't know. I mean, it's not a perfect example, but you get what I'm saying?
You're talking about what's happening, not what I'm watching. Because what I'm watching, I understand.
I do too, but then when you try to explain it with words, it's too hard.
I mean maybe
Or
it was
you could
just
do it. Are you about to explain it?
Then maybe
Well,
you shouldn't
Why
have
does
written a
why
book
does he
about
get
it.
old?
I don't know why he gets
I
old.
think maybe it's just a
I
Because he got
representation
understand
young
it.
in the book.
It must be a representation of like I don't know, like maybe the aging process. Almost like you have to grow old to then be reborn and
Yeah,
start
it's like
over.
reincarnation. It's like I don't know. It's the same. The movie Enter the Void is also about like at the end of the movie he's a baby. He's born again.
But okay, but wait. So when he's in that room at the end, is he there for a normal amount of time that he gets old, or is he aging super quick?
I have no idea. I don't know.
I don't know if you're supposed to know.
I don't think it matters.
I think
it's just cool.
I looked at it as like it was happening probably relatively quickly.
Well, yeah, I mean, because he's like, it's like him in the bathroom, and then he's like, oh, who's that old guy? And then it's him eating dinner, and then he's like, who's that old guy?
Right,
and it's him in the bed.
I think that
So
and I think the way that
seemed
those
quick.
Yeah.
the way those scenes are filmed is intentionally hard to understand. It's not filmed the way a normal movie is filmed. And what I like about it is that the shot of the old man when he's sitting eating from his back, everything that leads up to that shot is normal aged Bowman looking around in his surroundings.
No, it's not. He's old by then.
Okay. The point is, but when he looks at the blue bathrobe wearing person, he looks at him, and then the next shot is what you think is his perspective. But it's simply that the camera is where he was standing,
Yeah.
and then that Bowman then walks toward the camera, looks around, sees that there's not the Bowman that you think you're looking through his eyes, and then he goes back, and then the same thing happens when he looks over at the old one. As soon as he looks at the old one, the version of him disappears. So I think it's the whole movie, man. The whole story is that you can't go to the next level until you see that it's there and you're able to get there. You can't go to Jupiter to be turned into a star child until you advance yourself enough to be able to detect magnetic anomalies on the moon. So it's like,
Right.
it's kind of just like a parallel, man. It's like you don't become the next thing until you are ready to shed what you are.
That makes sense.
And all that could be bullshit, but that's the point of this movie, is that you just make it, it's whatever your interpretation is. As long as you, I think, understand the basic point is that there is a higher power, be it God, be it aliens, transforming us from what we were to what we are now, and eventually to what we will become.
So I'm going to be honest, I don't get a lot of that from the movie. I get a lot of that from the book. Like,
For sure.
I'm having
I
a
probably
hard
do too.
Right, I'm having a hard time just like distinguishing, like how like we're having the conversation, was he old, was he young, was he this, was he that? It's like
I don't think it matters.
I think it's hard to, having experienced both, to, especially in reverse order,
I agree.
to really understand what the movie says versus what the book says.
Yeah, and I also think that if Kubrick were to I think that if Kubrick were to see this conversation happening, he would be like, that's nice. I'm glad that they're talking about my movie, but
You have it all
they
wrong.
can think, no, not that they have it wrong, but you guys can think whatever you want.
Right.
Like, and I'm glad that it's making you think.
So the other difference, there's a couple other differences
There's
from
so
the
many
book and the
differences.
movies. Yeah.
So many differences.
But wait, can I say really quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to like, oh yeah, I was going to say this earlier because this is what I read in the 2018 Michael Benson book, is that it's another thing we say, like you think like Kubrick knew what he was doing from the beginning. He didn't. In the beginning, there was going to be a narrator in this movie.
Really?
That was dropped.
Wow.
There was going to be a whole section before the monkeys of a documentary style of people like Arthur C. Clarke and scientists talking about what you're about to watch. That was dropped.
Weird. That would have been
That
a
sounds like a good
completely
idea.
different movie.
And what's funny about that one, they, again, according to the book,
Yeah.
it wasn't someone else, like Kubrick's editor or something was like, dude, you can't have a bunch of people talking and then go to 30 minutes of silence.
True.
And Kubrick was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, we just need to start with silence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I said that a couple of times, that I felt like a narrator was needed, but then sometimes it would totally change the movie completely.
and
if
I
you
will
did.
say also in terms of like, it being a not traditional movie, for me, last night, in my attempting to pay attention as much as I could and take notes, the part where I mentally turn off is when Frank Poole dies.
Yes.
And then it's just breathing for like 20
Yeah.
fucking minutes, dude.
Yes.
And then everything is just so slow. And another thing that I think is that you could literally shave 15 minutes off of this movie if the pod door was on the same side as the fucking window. 'Cause there's so many shots in the movie where the fucking pod has to turn around
Right,
and it
real
takes
slow.
so long, dude.
It's so funny though, because those are some of my favorite parts visually. When Bowman is at the control and the lights and the lighting and the projections on his face, I mean,
Yeah.
those make me so happy. Like, so happy. Like, the lighting throughout the entire Discovery part, it just makes me so happy. Like, I don't even know how another way to explain it. Like, it's just, it looks so perfectly beautiful. And there's so many different things like going on. Like, you could stare at some of those as stills and like just scan from like every angle of that still, and it would be
Dude, and even
amazing.
What about like the Jupiter system at the end?
Yes.
When like
Amazing.
when the Discovery is like at the bottom third of the screen and it's at this kind of an angle,
Yes.
and above it is Jupiter, and then you see all the moons. It's like, and it doesn't look real because I don't know
Right,
what that would
but-
look like, but it doesn't look fake.
Right.
Yeah.
It just looks like art.
Yeah, I mean everything, like all of that stuff, every single thing in the ship was incredible. Like the whole part, like when he's killing Hal, like it's just so like visually amazing. It just like
Yeah.
makes my eyes happy.
Yeah. And last night when he was killing Hal, I don't think I looked at the screen once.
That's probably because he's just pressing a bunch of buttons for a really long
No, I
time.
know.
And I was like, is he really going to have to press all of those buttons?
Yeah.
I did wish they had kept Hal's like part in that the same as the book, though, where it's not like his voice changes, because like in the movie his voice just keeps getting deeper
Yeah.
and deeper, when really it's like computer wouldn't do that. It would like short and spaz out like he does in the book. You
Yeah.
know.
But I guess it kind of reminds me of when something's like running out of batteries
Yeah.
and it gets slower.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like I guess, I don't know, it's like you can tell that it's dying or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So
Will you
Oh,
more into the thing?
hello, sorry.
Turn it so here's something. I think I maybe told you this, but okay.
What?
So this speaks to remember the nuke conversation we
Yes.
had about the ending?
Yes.
So in the book it states, and we can call it a fault if we want, that the thing that when he throws the bone up in the air and it becomes a spaceship.
Yeah.
So the way I see that is that's the most famous jump cut ever, and it's because you have the first tool man ever used jump cut to the most recent
Yeah.
4 million years later. That's a pretty cool thing. But what it really is, and I've never known this, and you can call it a fault because I had to read it in a book,
Right.
is that it's the man's first weapon to man's latest weapon. While making that is a nuclear device, a nuclear weapon floating there. It's never said in the movie,
Right.
so
Right.
that's lost on the audience. I agree. But if you look closely, and again, I only know this because of the book, those things, one of them has a Russian flag on it and one of them has a German flag on it. Because at the time, those were like, the superpowers.
Right. I
So-
did not notice that.
That was cool to see that this time, to actually notice that. But
Yeah.
I do love when Floyd first gets to the space station and that dude like walks him in.
Yeah.
I love when he walks up to the screen and the dude checks his watch, because it's just trying to show you, like, just like we now think that this is just normal. Like, that was crazy advanced technology to people in 1968, and it's attention to detail to have one person not be amazed by it, to check his watch,
Oh, right. Oh, right. I get what you're
So
saying.
I like that attention
Yeah.
to detail. I do also like, maybe I'm wrong, but old movie, okay, made by an American who, as I've said before, the Russians put a woman in space in 1961 at a time when the United States didn't allow women to even be candidates to be astronauts. He meets 3 women sitting there with that guy who he talks to. I think that's kind of cool that those they have PhDs,
Right.
which is cool.
Right.
I think maybe progressive. And then when he's in that room, there's a woman there too, which is cool. Remember the thing?
Yeah.
You would think back then, that they wouldn't do that.
Which is very unlike Clark.
Yeah.
Saying.
Right. That must be where Kubrick stepped in.
Yeah.
I already said I love when he says not at liberty to discuss this.
Yep.
And I also think that, in my opinion, if I were to ever start a band, I would just watch sci-fi movies for awesome phrases, because I love the movie Ad Astra, and I just love, because that's another one where you watch that whole scene with the monkeys. Remember the monkeys in Ad Astra? It doesn't matter if you don't, but it's all visual. You don't know what's going on. Neither do the characters. So it's not until someone says out loud what's going on do you realize what's going on. And Brad Pitt calls them research primates.
Oh.
And I think research primates is a fucking awesome band name.
That's great.
And I also think that Deliberately Buried would be an awesome band name.
That is a good band name.
I love the way he goes, deliberately buried. It's like deliberately buried while he's eating his little ham sandwich. I wrote epidemic schmepidemic, show me the monolith. Because he gets up there and he's like, I know that you're all very concerned about what your families might think about the fact that we said there's an epidemic, and maybe I'd be like, I don't give a fuck what my family thinks. Show me the alien artifact.
Yeah, right.
I'd be like, I do not care.
Please. That reminds me, this movie being watched in homes should come with a disclaimer that you should turn the volume down when that piercing thing okay, I was okay with it. You should have seen the dogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dogs were not happy. They were like, what is going on? Like, same reaction as the smoke alarm or something. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it was
I turned
awful.
it way down during that part. I was
it
like,
was a little,
yikes.
little much.
Okay, I also wrote, I wrote serious question, who is Floyd? Like, what is the importance of him? Like, why did he have to fly all the way up to the space station and then to the moon just to give that speech where all he fucking says is thank you?
Right.
Right.
You know?
And he didn't get to go to his daughter's birthday party.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
I think that scene is completely unneeded.
Yeah, they could have cut that whole
I think
thing.
it's only there because back then that kind of thing was so futuristic.
Agreed.
Video calling.
Yeah, like that would
Right.
just blow your mind.
Right.
When
Like, you
like
wouldn't know
that
what
scene
was.
when you watch it
Yeah.
now, it's like, what the fuck? What is the point of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. It just illustrates how tainted we are.
Yeah.
You know, that like someone wouldn't have been like, are just like, yeah, whatever, FaceTime. You know, like
Not
Yeah, but
amused
it's probably
by
still
it
a big
at all.
deal for people to like miss people that are on the moon. I guess I don't know.
no,
Not
No,
on
we're
the
just
moon.
talking about the
in
technology.
space. Oh, the technology.
just
of
the
it.
technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of cool when he's like, Daddy's traveling.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you would say now if you were like in
Right.
California.
Right.
You'd be like, I'm traveling. I'll be
Yeah.
back in a couple days.
Yeah.
But it's like, in the future, she's like, I'm on the moon. I'll be back in a couple days.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that is cool.
I like in this movie, I think other movies do this too. It's like a very interesting dynamic between the audience and the characters, and the fact that you as the audience see the monolith 4 million years ago. None of the characters know that exists until, spoiler alert, the second book.
Oh yeah.
So it's the ultimate visual storytelling or visual conveying of information, the opposite of what I think movies do poorly now, which is people constantly talking and explaining the plot.
Yes, right.
Just exposition.
Yeah.
So as soon as you see the monolith on the moon,
You know.
you know.
Yeah.
None of the characters know, but you know because you are the fly on the wall
Yeah.
4 million years old. I think that's kind of cool.
Totally.
And anytime you guys want to jump in with anything while I do this, feel free. Do you guys remember the opening shot of Spaceballs?
No.
Not at all.
It's hilarious. And it is, the whole point of it is it's like it's showing space, and then the spaceship comes in the right corner of the screen, and it just goes on for like literally 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
That is a direct reference, now I know,
Yeah.
to the first time you see Discovery. Good God, it takes so
Yeah.
long to get by the screen. You're sitting there, you're just like, good fucking Lord. But then when you watch it in Spaceballs, it's so hilarious. And in Spaceballs, like, because I remember the back of the spaceship is the same in Spaceballs. It's like those three things.
Yeah.
But in Spaceballs, it says, "We break for no one." Oh, okay. Here's one. Hold on.
How hysterical was it though when Poole died? It was pretty funny in the
Why?
movie.
You
Just
still-
like the way that it happened.
The way
was
he like
so funny.
spins,
Yeah.
like
Dude, okay.
that was so funny.
This is what I'm saying. When things move fast,
Yeah, it
they
does.
yeah,
don't
you're
look
right.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
you're
right.
right.
Because
Yep.
that's the one time something moved
Yeah.
fast in that movie, and it looked
Yep.
ridiculous.
It's like as soon as he goes like floating by, this one's giggling on the couch.
Yeah, it looks goofy. Okay, remember one of the things I brought up in the episode about the book was how much I love the middle part of the book where the whole emphasis is on isolation, and how Poole and Bowman find almost kinship with an asteroid because it's
Right.
the only significantly large object within millions of miles
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
And so the part where Hal says happy birthday to Poole,
Yeah.
after he witnessed his own family say it and all these nice things they say,
Yeah.
Hal saying happy birthday, in my opinion, like, is more significant, even though he's a machine,
Right.
because he is sentient and he is with Poole physically,
Yeah, that's interesting.
you know?
Yeah.
I also read, it's funny in the book, apparently, like, Stanley Kubrick was falling over himself about the actor who played Poole. Because that guy apparently was like the super macho manly man back then,
Really?
and was like was like a cowboy. He like rode horses. He
Really?
climbed- He did all this cool shit, and apparently Kubrick was just like loved him on set. Let's see. Okay, another thing that's explained in the book that I read is that, remember when Hal brings up his potential lack of confidence in the mission,
Yes.
Yeah.
and then the very next, once Bowman is like, "I'm not worried about it, dude," that's the very next moment, then Hal puts into motion his plan to kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's explained in the book that what Hal is trying to do at that moment is childlike, in that he's trying to get Bowman to come to the same conclusion that he already knows, but he can't say it because he was programmed not to lie.
right.
So what he's trying to do in that moment, and again, it's not expressed in the movie, so it's a fault, but what he's trying to do in that moment, he's trying to get Bowman to try to dig up,
Oh, what the real
so
truth
that
is?
so
Yeah.
that Hal won't feel forced to kill them.
I gotcha.
So I think that was kind of cool. What did I say? Oh yeah, every time I watch this movie, Bowman and Poole seem to me to just get dumber and dumber and dumber. Did they really think they could hide their plan from Hal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
that part
so
was great.
it's so obvious that they're being sketchy. He just turns to him. He's
Yeah.
like, I think there's something wrong with my pod. Will you come check it out?
Yeah.
It's like you're really
It's way over here.
That's-
really like.
That's actually one of the things that I really like. I really, comparatively to the book, I really had a problem with is how absolutely useless the two of them seem the entire time they're on the Discovery. Like in the book, they're an integral part of everything.
Yeah.
And in this, it looked like they're on vacation. You know, they're like
Yeah.
lounging around in a robe and just running around
Yeah,
and like
eating.
eating and
And
like
getting
not
a
really
tan.
and not really doing anything. When we discussed the book, we were talking about how important it was that Bowman be the like ultimate man, essentially the only person who could make this Stargate journey or whatever it is, who could advance. It just doesn't work. He in the movies just kind of
Well,
like
you're absolutely right. I never thought about that. But
it's like he's just like a passenger. He's
Yeah.
not anything
it's very
important.
passive for
Right.
him.
Yeah.
But you're right. If he would have truly followed the storyline, he would have needed to be in that advanced state to then evolve on.
Yeah, he just didn't seem like it they just kind of seemed useless.
Yeah, I agree. Another thing I wrote is that the moment when the pod turns to go kill Poole, it's like, okay, now we're watching a horror movie.
Yep,
Like,
absolutely.
that shot, just
know.
when it, because
That was a
it's
good
still for so long, and then all of a
all of a
sudden
sudden
it's
it
just like,
starts moving.
and you're like, oh shit, things are about to get real. I guess so. The only other thing I wrote that I haven't mentioned is this is the first time I ever watched it and kind of thought about, you know how through the Stargate scene becomes different inverted colors of an eyeball, and then it just goes back to what an eyeball actually looks like.
Yeah.
It's like relief when you see that.
Yeah.
It almost like it reminds me of like the beauty of real life. Like, because that is just like, if you just show me an eyeball, I'm going to be like, whoa, too close.
Right.
But after all that bullshit of the colors and then the inverted neon eyeballs, and then you see a real eyeball, you're like, damn, that's beautiful. At least I did.
No, that's
And I
actually,
wasn't stoned. So
That's actually a good.
there's validity.
That's actually like a good point. Like it had to go on for that long. To make that
to
impact.
change your perspective.
Right. Yes. Change your perspective. Yeah. Interesting.
And then I mentioned, Heather, well, I said it in my Instagram too, that the fourth credit is Moonwatcher. Isn't that awesome?
That is awesome.
That was one dude who played Moonwatcher. It wasn't like a rotating. And no, Kubrick wanted a tribe of 60 people, but he could only get 20.
Oh my gosh.
So those are 20. Dude, and one thing they talk about in the book is how at the end of that whole shooting thing, they all had problems with their knees.
Oh.
Yeah, I bet.
Because they're bouncing up and down.
I all thought
like
they
that.
were professional dancers, to be honest with you,
I think
because
they
of the
were.
way
I
they
think
move.
they are.
I think
Yeah,
they are.
I was like,
think-
no normal person can move
Yeah,
But,
like
I'm
that.
pretty sure they are.
Richter, the guy who plays Moonwatcher, was a mime.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's so
And
neat.
another
That's cool.
horrifying thing in that movie that I've always thought is the like the second to last shot of Moonwatcher when he walks upright.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he he's not quite upright.
Yes.
He does this horrifyingly creepy, like, oh, it's so creepy and I hate it.
Yes.
And I remember back when I used to watch the movie, I used to think, I'd be like, this is significant because I'm literally watching the first ever murder.
Oh,
The
yeah.
first,
Oh,
the
right.
Intentional
first-
murder, yeah.
the
Right.
first ever war.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
this is where all the bullshit that we live through now started.
Exactly.
What a shame.
Yep.
Those goddamn monoliths.
Yep.
So that's that. Yeah. Those are all the notes I took.
Nice.
But could you blame that on the monoliths, or could you blame that of the fault of like that species? Because
They
they
weren't
just
killing
gave
each
them
other
the
before.
knowledge.
Oh, yeah, you're
but
right.
they did whatever they wanted with it.
It unlocked what was already in our genes.
Well, then, I mean, that.
Maybe.
I mean,
Once again, man, this is why I think this story is like legend. It's myth. It's because it's the same thing with God. Why would God create us
Right.
and then let
And
us
then
fucking
do
torture
horrible
and
things.
murder each
yeah.
other?
Yep.
and have original sin and all that stuff.
It's the same thing, like that. And that's what I always say about, that's what I used to say about 2001 is that it's like this, it's the story of God. It's their God.
Yeah.
This is just as plausible
Right.
as God created us.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Because in both instances, you can't prove it right, you can't prove it wrong. Mm-hmm. So,
I think that follows the line of kind of what Clark's beliefs were too. I mean, he was, what do they call it, a pantheist, where you like believe in just like the natural world, and that you would not necessarily that there's a God, but
I feel like I read about that, but I think
I mean, I know he
think
was atheist,
I was gonna say I think he transitioned into
But-
atheism.
but almost those things are kind of hand in hand because you're not believing in like a one true creator type God. I don't know.
you know what's an interesting little factoid I learned about Christianity in this country?
What?
Is that on the census or whatever, like the polls of who's Christian,
Yeah.
the amount of people who claim in this country to be Christian would not physically fit in all of the church space.
I totally
in this
believe
country.
that. Yeah.
Funny.
Which means somebody lying.
Right. Someone's like, yeah, we're Christian. We just don't go to church.
Yeah. I just think it's funny.
There's a
is
lot
funny.
of those.
But anyway, I don't have anything really else to say about it. That's kind of why I had the notes, just to give me something to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering, 2001 came out in 1968. You should go check it out if you haven't. No, I'm just kidding. Why would I ever do that? I don't have to do that. Usually I'm like, yeah, it's a weird Clark book from 1953. You could find it on Amazon.
Everyone knows about this. Yeah.
So I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.